Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the beginning of the 2019 semester, for first semester of Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, even though I recognize that this is the end of 2018. So, oh my goodness, I was just talking to the class before I got going on the recording. I've been doing this series, Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, since 2013. So it's kind of amazing to me that it's been almost 6 years. And there are some people that have been with me on this journey for many, many years. And so, and this is also a little bit about the way that I structure the class. If you enroll or as a student or want to become a participant, it's like you just enroll once. You don't have to constantly enroll every single semester over and over. So that's the idea, is that you can be, it's like a one-room schoolhouse where you can be like a returning grad student if you ever want to pop back in, or if you just want to continue learning, like you can go through the teaching cycle and then come back the next semester and go through it again, because just like watching a TV series or something that has lots of layers of meaning or hidden Easter eggs or whatever, there's something to be gained by going through it again. I think it's really cumulative. And I also say that the information that I present and the way that I do this, it's very much like learning any kind of thing, like learning a musical instrument or learning high-level math or physics. It's cumulative. It's a foundation. You learn the basic ideas, then you learn more subtle ideas, more and more and more layers on top of that. And we're always refreshing those basic ideas too. So for anyone who's been in this class already for many years, like you guys, you're experts. When it's actually talking about the time vortex, like you guys already know. That's why it's a one-room schoolhouse. And I'm very happy that you exist in this class as like a foundation anchor that you can share those ideas with other people. And also, it has been suggested to me by a lovely new participant whose name is Rod. So I have a Facebook page that is called Students of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, but to have a more organized level of discussion on that Facebook page. So we might end up doing that. But the idea is one-room schoolhouse. If you've already been through this class a couple of times, or are already familiar with the material, you can have a wonderful discussion and share your cultivated viewpoint with the people that are new and that are just tuning in. So I'm just taking a moment to express my deep appreciation to everybody, students who have been in this class for a long time, and also welcome to the students who are new. So I had a wonderful experience at the end of October. I went to Stargate to the Cosmos conference. And also I will give my standard disclaimer that just because I went there, that is not an endorsement of every single speaker that went to that event, or the organizers or anything like that. Like, everybody is on their own path. I was very honored to have a platform there where I could actually give a live workshop of what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. So I did a lecture there, and then I did a workshop and an actual demonstration. And the demonstration of the dance, I do have a short video clip of that, and I've been sharing it via Dropbox for interested students or participants, as opposed to uploading it here to YouTube, because it is not a booty shaking video, and it is more, the word is private. So let's get into this idea. This is the intro. Hello, welcome. If you don't know what the heck is going on, I will tell you all about it. The Flying Rainbow Lasagna is, also, new students have given me new ways of describing what I do. This is a manifestation tool. I'm also beginning to describe it or call it a frequency bridge. So it is a way of bringing together things that used to be separate, like this thing over here and this thing over here, and they're separated by a membrane or a wall or some kind of boundary or divider. This shape is a way of superseding that divider so that energy can now jump across. And that divider, it can be something physical, like a cell membrane. It can be something non-physical, like time. Like there's the separation of past from future. For past, what has already been established, from future potential. Or there's the separation of self versus context. So these are different levels. Something that's physical, something that's abstract, something that is an intellectual idea. All of those separations can be transcended or superseded by the use and application of this tool. So yeah, I went to the conference and I did my workshop and I presented it, and the act of doing the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So, okay, this is not merely a word or a concept or an intellectual exercise. It's also not a static object. It's moving and it bounces or oscillates. It's a verb, so it's an idea, but it's also something that you do. So in this class, we spend a lot of time, or I spend a lot of time, talking about this and giving you food for your intellect. And that's just like if we were in a music class and I was going to tell you, okay, everyone, that is a C and that is a D. Like, it's good to learn about all this, good to learn music theory, but that's not the same as having the experience of music, going to a symphony and having waves of energy and sound, wash over you. It's also not the same as playing music. So what I teach in this class are the basic ideas or music theory. And it really does help us to be good musicians, to have that foundation under our belt. And then also there's the practice itself, which is playing your instrument. The body is your instrument. And when you play with this Flying Rainbow Lasagna melody, you're playing a song with the cosmos. And it really is an intimate partnership. That's why I say it's a little bit of a private activity. It's not secret. It's not something like, clearly this is not secret. I'm here doing a video on YouTube and sharing it openly with as many people as possible. In fact, that's why I'm here as a Galactic Walk-In. P.S. I'm a Galactic Walk-In. For anyone who doesn't know me, or if you've just begun to find out about my work from the conference. Yeah, what does it mean to be a walk-in? I'm not the original inhabitant of this body, nor am I a horrible, evil, monstrous body snatcher. I hope that that's evident. Like, I always think that that's evident from just my appearance, but I understand I'm giving these lessons on a traumatized planet where your skepticism is well-founded, that there are beings who wear a mask and they say, I'm your friend, trust me. But then they're actually horrible, toothy monsters. So I understand your skepticism. And when I first came here as Aurora in 2001, I had to kind of learn about that. Like, oh, why? Like, I didn't have this sculpture. It's over there and my furry overlord is on my lap, so I can't get up and get it. But I had a very rough, cobbled together sculpture of the Flying Rainbow Lasagna that I made out of poly clay, Sculpey clay. I baked in the oven. So I literally would simply like stand on the sidewalk holding my sculpture and, show it to people and tell them all about it. I didn't understand that that's not the most effective approach to be able to integrate with humanity and share ideas. So it took me actually a long amount of time. And I know I jump around a lot in my presentations, and especially today where I feel a little bit more free to do so because it's the introduction. Get to know me, get to know my style. Yes, I jump around a lot. This Flying Rainbow Lasagna, people need to kind of know, like, where does this come from? Who are you? Why are you here? Like, I understood that you can't just necessarily stand on the sidewalk with, delicious food and just offer it to people, and that people are skeptical because they're kind of like, who are you? Because they've been burned. If you've been burned in the past, then you might be skeptical moving forward into the future. So once again, I'm not some blithe idiot coming here to your planet and saying, trust me. Like, I'm actually not that. I actually came to your planet and looked around and understood that this is a profoundly traumatized place. And that's why I'm facing so many layers of, skepticism or rejection or lack of acceptance or disinterest in this idea. This is the tool. This is the tool for freedom. This is like the key is how you get out of your cage. So imagine if you came into a world where everybody's imprisoned and caged and like super closed down, has the blinders on, not connected to the divine, not connected to, higher dimensional, less dense realms. And you're like, oh yeah, here guys, here's the frequency bridge that you can use to get out of your frequency cage. And everyone's like, who are you? What is that? How did you get that? How did you get here? What are you talking about? I'm distrustful of you. Like, that's what my existence was like when I first came here. So it has taken many, many years to not only I've seen refinement of humanity over the past 17 years. So I won't like take full credit for it or whatever. I will say that humanity and society has changed and developed over the past 17 years to be more open to these ideas. And also, I've surrounded myself now with the people that are good musicians, that are open to these ideas. So part of it is the entire collective of humanity has leveled up and is now more refined and more open to these, this is my proprietary idea, but this, what I have painted on my dress here and what's in these different paintings, and I'll show you some different paintings too, that is cosmic. That is like from the great composer. That is in existence. So I'll make this distinction, and I'm sure everyone who's in the class for a long time already has heard this so many times. I don't say that I'm the inventor of this pattern, unless the I in that sentence gets defined as I. Like if I dilate my identity, like if you expand yourself out to the greatest limits of who you can possibly be, you're divine, you're God, you're the creator. So if I expand my limits out to that level, then yes, I created all of this. As Aurora, I have to say that was already music that was in existence. Music theory, the entire system of music itself was created by a wonderful composer and is conducted by a very talented and capable great conductor. Tap, tap, tap. This is the great conductor that tells everybody when to play their music and how loudly to play and in what way. And you play your music, that's called being alive. This is the symphony of life. So my dog is on my lap. I want to grab this little sculpture over here. Let's see if I can shift in just the right way. Can I scratch, reach? Can I get it? It was tough, but I did it. Okay, so beginning with this. This is a shape that is called a torus or toroid or a donut. And this shape that I'm holding here is actually made out of 2 donuts or tori or toroidal energy fields. This is a static shape, but it is actually comprised of moving energy. So that's one big thing, and I will talk to you about the patterns in which this energy flows. The shape itself is made out of 2 donuts, one of which is oriented around like this with the donut hole going vertically, and one of which is with the donut going around like this, with the donut hole being oriented horizontally. So this donut over here, I've chopped off the top part of the cake and the bottom part of the cake. So it's a simplified sculpture. And I will, do some drawings of this too. This is getting into a little bit of what lesson 1 is, level 1, lesson 1. And this shape is the basis for what is this shape. So once again, I said this is like for advanced participants of this class, this is recap. But just like when you go back to your earliest episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and you watch that, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't catch that the first time that I saw that. Now I understand more. So yes, it's worth it to expose yourself to these ideas again with your perspective coming from the, you've already come to the conclusion. Rewind back to the beginning and come to these, revisit these ideas from the beginning. I am now drinking my raw cannabis smoothie. Hold on 1 minute. This shape is made entirely out of time. So we have our physical bodies, and all of us using our 5 senses can agree, hey, yeah, you got a physical body. Like I can touch it and I can smell it and I can see it and all these different things. I can hear it make noises. We also have a body that is not a physical body. So now I think it might be time to start getting into pictures. Oh, okay, well, whatever. I'm doing great. I'm just checking the chat. I know I make silly, squinty faces when I read on the screen too. So that's another thing you'll learn about me. Dominic says, you must have been laughing if you've seen me the past few weeks. I do actually, not that I'm specifically laughing at you or mocking you. I should get back to the intro part. When I'm doing the flying rainbow lasagna, what is my mindset like? What is this like? So just like when I'm doing the piano, I'm not like a super virtuoso on the piano. I will not pretend in any way. On the piano, what my favorite thing to do is to play in response to another musician. So if it's a recorded musician or a live musician, be like, oh, I hear that. Well, I'm going to play this in response. Just like with playing on the piano, first you practice on your own, then you get better and you begin to connect with other musicians and other pre-established musical patterns. It's important with Flying Rainbow Lasagna to have good training first before you kind of jump in and start mucking around. So I never wish to inhibit anyone, because that's a big, like if you ever go to an art class, you're like, you go to a life drawing class or whatever. And it's like, okay, here's your paper and here's your pencil and there's the model. And a lot of people just freeze. It's like you don't want to make the wrong move. You don't want to make it look ugly. You don't want to make a mark. You don't want to screw it up. That is how a lot of students have reflected to me in this class that they feel about flying rainbow lasagna. This is a tool like an artist uses a paintbrush or a pencil to be able to create reality. This is a tool for creating reality. And so a big part of it is being responsible in reality creation. So learning these foundation concepts that are about the structure of reality and also what I call cosmic law. Cosmic law is not necessarily like we have law in this country where you go to court, like, I don't like you, I'm going to sue you, I take you to court, and we enforce those laws. It's a different type of law. This is the type of law that is more like the law of gravity, or laws of electromagnetism, or other laws of the physical realm. It's not necessarily something that is enforced by a parliamentary, group of beings with powdered wigs. It's enforced by the experience of reality. So in terms of cosmic law, like, first of all, I created a cosmic law, or asserted a cosmic law, in the invention, creation of this shape. So all of this cosmic law type of stuff, or the organizational principles of the cosmos, all of it is done not as a mere intellectual exercise. It's done from the first person experience. So this is why I have to say, Aurora, like, why are you here as a walk-in? Why don't you just sit on a higher dimensional cloud, like reclining, eating a strawberry, away from magic wand, and poof, like fix everything in another realm? That was not possible, because in order to establish this assertion, you got to do it from the first person. So again, to make this really clear, music theory is beautiful and it's an intellectual exercise that informs the actual activity of making or listening to music. And in terms of making cosmic law, you can study it or think about it or intellectualize it or talk about it. It is really the practice of it when you embody your assertion, when you're like, this is what I say is true. I put that in my body and I live it as truth. And so what we're experiencing here in this physical realm that we find ourselves in is the interplay of all of these different assertions. Like, just like in higher level math, you have different assertions like statement 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you see if any of them are in conflict with one another. You have all of these different forces of energy, particles, and personality characteristics, or embodied beings here, and also disembodied beings here in this physical realm that are all making their assertions. So someone might assert, blah, blah, blah is right. And then someone else says, no, blah, blah, blah is right. And then it's the dynamic interplay of those two assertions that are being played out on this stage here. That's what gives us all of these layers of drama, and that we are ostensibly learning from. P.S., and I say this all the time too, that this realm was intended to be a schoolhouse for learning, but it actually has turned into more of a fun house or house of horrors, like one of those mirrored houses where instead of perfectly straight mirrors that go down a hallway that reflect everything perfectly to infinity, we have curved mirrors, warped, warbly mirrors. So what that means is that you, according to cosmic law and the way the cosmos is structured, what you send out comes back to you instantaneously and amplified. Think of it as a mirror. Literally, like if you are looking down a hall of mirrors and you have these perfect reflective surfaces, what you send out reflects off of here, it comes back to you, and it comes back amplified. And this is supposed to be what informs our entire level of, our many multiple levels of interaction, on every level of reality. That why would I send out a bunch of crap to someone else, knowing that then a bunch of crap would instantaneously fly back to me, and even more, like send out 10 units of crap, 100 units of crap flies back to me. Why would I send out crap? I wouldn't. So, and also cat's out of the bag. What I used to do, the way I had the class structured, was nice for 17 lessons, and then lesson 18 is the lesson 18, where 18 weeks later you find out all about like, why are we having to bootstrap ourselves up? Why are we having to do this? Levels of rectification. Now I don't have to do that anymore. That was from 6 years ago. And now there's a very overt, ongoing conversation in our society about the manipulators of human consciousness. So these are technology using extraterrestrials. So again, this is the intro. I'm Aurora. I am not a technology using extraterrestrial, although my consciousness origins are non-terrestrial. So I didn't come here in a clank metal spaceship. I came here through a frequency bridge. Like I said, I've been talking with students and developing new descriptive terms always to try to talk about what I am. It's a frequency bridge. So what in the structure of the cosmos, what's really going on, you have these low layers of density, lower density. That's a low note, but it's not a bad note. I want to make this clear because there's all of this teaching, all this new age crapola. We got to clear it out, bucket in a mop, clear it out. That's about low vibration. That someone will say, you're being low vibration, or those are low vibration beings, or there's low vibration, almost making it synonymous that something that is a low vibration is perforce distorted or evil or malevolent or not supposed to be in existence. So everyone who's in this class knows I do this impeccable language. We establish terms so that we're all on the same page about what do the words even mean that we're talking about. So if I play this note, that's a C. It's a C that's low. It's low in vibration. It's not ugly. It's not bad. It's not evil. And I'm not a demonic apologist. So I don't want anyone to take what I'm saying in this speech right now out of context and say, oh, Aurora said there's no such thing as a low vibration being evil. Therefore, I shall hug and kiss a demon. I'll hug and kiss a rapist murderer. Like, no, please do not do that. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is that we live in a reality that has many different layers, just like the layers of a lasagna, and that some of those layers are low vibration, they are long wavelength, and that they are dense. We live in a physical, dense realm. And then up from there, there are higher dimensional, less dense realms. There are higher places. So we always think higher is better, but higher is not necessarily better. It just means it's moving at a faster rate. So lower density, lower vibration, higher density does not necessarily mean distorted. But in this time and place, it does mean distorted. So that's why everyone thinks low vibration means distorted. Low vibration means evil. Low vibration means malevolent. It was not intended to be that way. This is a very big clarification here. So we're here in these physical bodies. These physical bodies are dense, and they are of a low vibration. They're a lower vibration than a light body. And this is big because a lot of people in the new age world or whatever, they're like, Calgon, take me away. They don't like their bodies. They don't like being in this level of density. They don't like being on Earth. They don't want to eat food. They don't want to poop. They don't want to deal with toilet paper. They don't want to have to deal with the levels of physicality. And I'm trying to tell you that there's nothing wrong with physicality itself. It's the distortions that we have been experiencing in the flow of energy through physicality that has made this a realm of suffering. So big takeaway, this body and this realm were not intended or designed by the great composer and great conductor to be realms of suffering. This realm has been hijacked and distorted by malevolent users of technology into a world that is meant to like wring misery from your soul. That's why I'm trying to say this world was intended as a hall of mirrors where what you send out is reflected back to you instantaneously. Because those mirrors have been distorted, like bubble glass or even broken or whatever, parts of it removed, what you send out maybe doesn't reflect back to you. So you could be a big, huge, rampant jerk face and send out lots of jerk face vibrations, and it doesn't bounce back to you. And then you get the idea, quite erroneously, all the rules of the cosmos are off. I can be as jerk face as I want, and I shall jerk face all over you if I want to. And that's what's been going on for all of recorded human history. For all of the past 5,000 or 6,000 years, what humans right now on Earth's surface define as their own story of self has been during this time of broken and distorted mirrors where jerkface can send out 10 units of jerkface energy and not receive any amount of jerkface energy reflected back to it. That's big. You're going to say, Aurora, that ain't fair. And I'm going to agree with you. You're right. That ain't fair. And it is why I am here. So in terms of exopolitics or exotic non-terrestrial life forms, P.S., I don't think I have to say this to anyone who's on this webinar, but just generally, yes, there's life everywhere. Like I kind of am amazed when I talk with anyone here on this planet who actually thinks that A, there is only life on Earth, and B, the pinnacle of intellectual achievement on Earth's life is humanity. So no, those two statements are not truthful. There are many organisms on Earth who are equally as intelligent, although possibly differently intelligent as humans. And Earth is not the only place that has life. So in order to become responsible, sophisticated galactic citizens, it's necessary for Earth's inhabitants to first recognize and harmonically integrate on a life, symphony of life level with all the other intelligent organisms on your own planet, and then to begin making music with the beings that are not on your planet. This is the basic structure of the great composer that made all this, that basically said, you're not supposed to use technology to get off of your planet prematurely. That if you need to get into a magic box and fly your magic box someplace else, then that you are not ready to go someplace else. Because in order to go someplace else, the only magic box you really need is your birthday suit. So I didn't fly here in a magic box. I came here through a frequency bridge that is called the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And I'm not a selfish person, and let me say this, my value system is not about doing what is best for me at the expense of others, and my persona and my personality here in this time and place and elsewhere is definitely not based on mere personal benefits or anything like that. It is all about freedom, my value system. So, okay, I don't fly in a metal spaceship, and I'm connected to a collective. I don't come from a place, I come from a group. That's also another big takeaway of who I am and why I'm here. So when I first came here 17 years ago, and I would try to talk with people, I try to talk with humans, and I would tell them that I'm not from this place, and they would sometimes jokingly, winkingly be like, what planet are you from? And I had to learn, like, I can't answer that question in that way. And it was hard because I'm not, it's like I didn't know how to interact. So eventually I learned how to describe this, that I'm not from a place that is a location that you point to, like that over there, that's not it. Because we are itinerant and we're a collective, and the beings that are in the collective, the people in the collective come from all over the place. Just in the same way that, the idea of the United States was originally a melting pot with many people from all over the world came together and formed this new culture. That is what it's like. And it's also like a band. Imagine if you have a band that's full of really good jazz musicians that come from all sorts of different musical backgrounds. Like that guy does African music and that guy does, classical piano playing. And so I come from a collective of consciousnesses. So again, this is recap for anyone who's been in the class. When I first started telling people about this, lots of people said, oh, you're from the Borg. And then I didn't have cultural reference points. I didn't know what they were talking about. I accessed Star Trek, and then I learned what the Borg is. I had to say to everyone, no, I'm not the Borg. I'm not the Borg. So first of all, I'm not a transhumanist. That's really, really big. And so I'm coming onto this planet here that is mired in skepticism and trauma that actually comes from the invasion of technology using aliens to this planet that now looks at me through that filter and presumes that I am also a technology using evil invader. And that is, I've had to understand, like, in order to clean this up, like what am I cleaning up here? What is the distortion that everyone is looking at me through? So yeah, no, I'm not the Borg. The idea of technology-based extraterrestrial collective that reduces or violently irons out all of your own individuality. That's big. This is like when you're a jazz musician. You're an individual in a band. And it's different than being a classical musician in a symphony because you have a great deal of self-direction. If you're a classical musician, I'm just checking my time if you see me look over there. If you're a classical musician, you have this musical score that was written possibly hundreds of years ago, and you follow the notes that are there. But if you're a jazz musician, there's the basic composition that is there. That might be a set of chords or a set of notes. But then it's your job to improvise. It's your job to innovate. It's your job to find your own voice and your own personal expression within or on top of that preset pattern. So it's hugely important for you to maintain your individuality. You're not just some robot that plays the notes that Mozart wrote hundreds of years ago. You are in the moment, engaged an engaged participant responding to what is actually happening. That is what we are supposed to experience here in our experience of being humans. Like that's the whole thing. Like we are supposed to be innovators, and we're supposed to be constantly connected to the divine or this great composer, this great conductor. We're supposed to be able to read music and know what we're supposed to play and get the information from the composer that tells us, the conductor rather, that tells us what notes to play and when to play it. The jazz part is you get to innovate and you get to say, well, I know I'm supposed to play this note, but I could, if I wanted to, play this note because it's an acceptable substitution. So my collective, my extraterrestrial collective, fosters individuality. If you join the collective, it does not mean that you lose your individuality. We don't want robots. We don't want slaves that are like, you tell me what to play. I don't know what to play. Tell me what to play. We actually want people that know what to play because they are divine. They're connected to the divine, or the divine lives in them or lives through them. You've got that inside of you telling you what notes to play. You don't need someone else outside of you. So I'll tell this brief anecdote. I love jazz music and I try to play, in that style. And Miles Davis in like the 1970s or so, he was already very well established as a, icon of the jazz world. He had band and he had just hired Herbie Hancock. Herbie Hancock is now very famous and very established. Back then, he was just getting going. He was emerging as an artist and he was a little bit uncertain or unsure of himself. And he said to Miles Davis, like the big high up guy, what should I play? And Miles Davis said, play your piano, basically saying, I ain't going to tell you what notes to play. Like, I'm not going to, say, do this, do this, do this, even though he was the band leader. He basically put that responsibility back onto Herbie Hancock's shoulders and said, it's your instrument. You figure it out. You play. That is exactly how I am treating this class. Your body is your instrument. It is totally inappropriate for me to tell you what to do with your body. Your body is your body. Your DNA is your DNA. I'm not trying to tell you what notes to play. And that means I don't tell you what food to eat. I don't tell you, how to live your life and things like that. So in terms of how I, do this, I use my own body and my own life as a template. And I say, hey, this is how I do it. This is what I'm doing. Please take these ideas as a template and then apply them to your own existence. And this is the way it has to be because each one of us is completely unique on a cellular and genetic level. You're completely unique. Your fingerprints are unique to you and your DNA structure is unique to you. And so that means that the solutions that I have come up with for my body and my trajectory through time work for me. But you can't take an exact snapshot of exactly what I've done and apply it to you because you have different bodies and different life experiences. So I was able to use this to transcend profound neurological damage and even death and come inside of this body and fix and heal this body because clearly I walk, I talk, I paint, I sing, I play the piano, I do everything. The brain was very damaged. So I theoretically should have just been like a vegetable lying in bed and not be able to do any of these things. So you might not be facing that particular challenge, but you can take this template or this approach and apply it to your own life of doing the impossible or redefining what is possible and doing something new in that moment of crisis. So we all also have a unique trajectory through time. Everybody here, none of us are identical twins. None of us were born in the exact same place at the exact same time. So all of this is about moving through time. Your trajectory through time, the way that a baseball has a trajectory across space, it's flying across the baseball field, right? You are also moving like a baseball flying across a baseball field. You're moving through time. So this sculpture is a representation of the pathways upon which you, as the baseball of consciousness, move through time. And your pathway is unique to you. Where you were born, where you're coming from, and where you're going to is unique to you. Like Cheeky's life circumstances are unique to her. Where she was born, how she assembled as an organism, what she's been experiencing up to this point, and then where she needs to go for her completion, let's say, for her levels of profound refinement to the point of returning to the identity of the divine. which is what this sculpture represents. This sculpture represents a refinery of time, wherein we are moving from the generalized, wider base to the more specific central convergence point. And what we are doing is focusing our sense of self, our personality, who we define as self, and the activities and pursuits of our day until we are the most divine version of self we can be. And again, if you're new to my class, I'm totally not religious, even though I wear a cross. I'm not a biblical literalist. I'm not a promoter of any of the established religions that are already here on Earth's surface. And I often refer to them as death cults, and not to be disrespectful, but to really portray them as thought systems that contain as part of their basis the foundation, the necessity of death. And so again, although I wear a cross, I'm not affiliated with the official Christian church, Christian doctrine, or anything like that. I wear this because I had an experience of, contacting or connecting with Christ consciousness, and I'm still connected with it. And that is from the experience of coming into this body through this genetic portal or on this frequency bridge. And it was a undeniable experience. And there's when you have this type of experience, there's no question, what was that? What did I do? What was it? And so when I first came here as Aurora, I was very naive. I saw all this stuff about Christianity, and I thought that it was all about what I had experienced. And when I started to get involved and delve further, then I found out oh no, that's not actually what these people are all talking about. And then when I started to delve even further, then I became even more disheartened, concerned, because the teachings of the religion were all about the necessity of suffering, the inevitability of death, the necessity of death, and how you have to die in order to then achieve immortality. And so I'm almost at the end of level 1. I'm going to go a little bit into the whiteboard in order to tell you, who are all new, and refresh to everybody who's been here for a while, that death is not inevitable. So first, let me go set up my whiteboard. Hold on. And let me also make my face bigger. There you go. So now you can see my face. So you can see me holding up the yellow sculpture. So this is a 3-dimensional object. Now I'm going to draw a cross-section of that 3-dimensional object. I don't think you can see it if I use yellow as a color. I'll just use black, but you know that I'm drawing the yellow sculpture. So I've cut this lovely, delicious time donut in half. Right? So it's a cross section. So this would be a donut, you would see that's part of that, that's part of that. That's only a portion of that sculpture that I showed you, because what we also have is a donut that goes around in this direction. So we also have this here, this here, this here, like this. And it all joins together at this central convergence point. So this is only this is the introduction, and lesson 1 will technically be next week, but I'm just going into a little bit of we're talking about anatomy here. This is the time field, and this little, shape that I just drew here is one element of the time field. So this is a big takeaway for everyone who's in the class, that there are many of these that are all joined together. Let me see if I can draw this properly. There's a time field. You can see it. Oh, I should show you guys pictures too. We'll do some fun pictures, because it takes a long time. It's very laborious for me to draw like this, and my little mechanical pen is not perfect. But just understand, it's an entire matrix or tessellation or tiling or pattern of many, many of these time vortices that all fit together. So energy flows throughout these shapes. First, if I show you how energy flows in the yellow sculpture, where I'm making the big dot, that's the source. It's also the destination. It is where energy comes from and flows to. So energy flows from here, where I make the big X, from there, out over to here, back to the middle, and then back on over to here like this. So this flows like a figure 8 around like this. And it also has other more complex energy flow patterns. It flows, well, we have this one that goes out like this, and of course comes around like this and comes back in here. So we've got 2 figure 8s that are complementary, right? one like this. I know I make squinty faces too. And one like this. Ah, you're starting to get it. And you'll see this four-lobed shape. These four lobes, 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll see them show up over and over in my paintings. And you'll begin to understand that that's the cross section. I'll show you the little orange sculpture that shows you the three-dimensional version of it. The time vortex is this quadrant of the sculpture. So we've got essentially 4 vortices. Let's count them off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's show them to you in physical reality on this sculpture. So if, let's say this is God's finger, right? God is right now dimpling the fabric of time, space, and consciousness in this direction. That's 1 vortex up there. Here's the next vortex, 2. Here's the next one, 3. Here's the next one, 4. So you can kind of get a sense of what those shapes are like. But then if I turn this sculpture like this, there's another vortex that is implied in here. And there's another one that is implied behind it. So we actually end up with 6 vortices. But for simplification, I usually only draw 4. Okay? And the lower quadrant that I just circled is this, where I'm pointing my silver pointer right up here. This is big because we're beginning to establish terms of what I'm even talking about when I talk about the membrane of death and different things like that. So let's say I'm making this little, like, look, I'm cutting, where I'm just cutting that part out of that larger piece. Now I'm drawing it here, okay? And so this is this diagram that I draw all the time. This is the time vortex. So that line that I just drew there, that's this big fat black line that I just drew over here. And we have these curved membranes that are on the sides. See, sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to move my pen properly. And then this dot over here. So basically, this red line is the membrane of death. And it is a flowing membrane that is made of energy that moves. Just like I was telling you before, that energy flows out of here and flows to here and flows out of here and flows to here. So this might be a different approach, a different mental approach than what most people, mostly death is personified as a person. Like the Grim Reaper carries around a giant knife and chops off your head. Or, you know, the Greek idea of the 3 ladies who weave and the last one has the scissors and cuts your thread. And here I'm showing death as an impersonal force that, like gravity. Gravity is an impersonal force. Your apple will fall off of the tree, no matter what. It's going to fall. Gravity makes it fall. So this is a flow of energy that flows from the source and in this direction over here. And that way, if you go into that zone, energy will hit you. That is called death. That is what the experience of death is. And let's get a good color. Here we go. So once again, you're supposed to be emanated from this dot that is the convergence point, the presence of everything and the possibility of everything into reality, and then just go directly back to that dot. But that's not what's been happening. What I just drew, that blue loop, that's what life was like before the invention of death. No one touched the membrane of death. Everybody lived in total harmony and a state of health and connection to the divine that meant that no one ever experienced the physical corporeal death. And everybody, when you completed your life experience, transcended the physicality, transcended being in a vibration that is a body that is a low vibration into body that has a high vibration. That's what we are currently defining as ascension, without the intermediary steps of death. That was when everything was perfect. Again, I used to save this information to lesson 18. Here, today, I put it in the introduction. It's not hidden at all. What has happened since the genetic degradation is, instead of starting out in the right position over here and going up this central timeline, kind of like an arrow hitting the bullseye in the target, what happens instead now is we come out to the edge, and this is where you are born instead. And so in this drawing, time moves in this direction, right? So you're getting older as you go up vertically in this graph. So here's the little baby that's just been born, and it's getting older, and it lived for 1 minute, and then what happened? It hit the membrane of death. And also to new students and to those who are returning, I reiterate This little sculpture, I'm drawing the timelines as if they are trees or lollipops or sticks that go directly up like that. That's a simplification, that these time pathways actually are spirals that go around, you know, in the pathway that I just drew, like corkscrews. But because it's very confusing to look at a diagram that is made out of corkscrews, I simplify them and make them look like they are just these lollipops or arrows or something like that. But intellectually, I want everyone in this class, because I know you're all super smart, to remember that they are spirals spiraling around, you know, like corkscrews in the vortex shape. And when you touch the membrane of death, that means you no longer move through time. So where I'm scribbling in blue is part of this time vortex. That is called being alive. You're in the time field. You are also moving through time. So if we say, like, if you, the you-ness of you is like this little red dot, you don't just stay in one place. You move all the time. You're moving here, then you're moving here, then you're moving here. That's called moving through time. And what happens on the membrane of death is frozenness. That if you are a dot of consciousness on the membrane of death, you're stuck. I'm pretending that I'm frozen. You're stuck on the membrane of death, like bugs that have splatted on the windshield. Those little red dots of consciousness are not moving. They are not moving through time. So this is pretty big, what happens in the present level of degraded, distorted, funhouse activity. I gotta drink a bit of water too. Instead of being emanated from the divine into physical reality, you get emanated into physical reality, but you get cut off from the divine, and then you don't know what notes to play. And you have to experiment with trial and error in the quantum laboratory of your life. So you come here as a little baby, and you go up here, and you're like, oops, I hit the membrane of death. Oh, well, now I shall simply have to circulate back, because remember that it goes in this direction, circulate back to the beginning, which is kind of like rewinding, and then try again over here. Now I'm starting from this position over here, and now I'm going to go forward in time. I'm a baby, I've just been born. Oh, now I lived for 1 day. Well, that's better than before. I died after 1 minute before. You lived for 1 day, and then you died, and then you kind of make, here's your dot that gets stuck on the membrane of death, and it has to get rewound, unmade, and circulate back to here. And here you try again, you get born again, and maybe you live for 3 days, and then you hit the membrane of death. This is exhausting even to talk about. It's even more exhausting to experience. And this is what every single one of us has been experiencing since what is known as the fall of consciousness. So, or the invention, I call it the invention of death. It's memorialized in this time and place in, as, you know, the mythological fall of humanity. Wait, go back to my face. It's the fall of Atlantis. It's the fall from grace. It's the biblical fall, like with, you know, eating the apple in the Garden of Eden. These are the vestigial memories and genetic memories expressed through mythology of the idea that we once had an exalted level of consciousness and an exalted experience of being in reality that then became distorted and degraded. And that is what we now experience. So we were, again, big takeaway, in these bodies, never intended to die. You were never intended to die. You weren't also intended to come down here into physicality and then be cut off from the divine and kind of be like blind, like bumping around, feeling your way around, like, what am I doing? Who am I? What am I supposed to be doing here? That is not what our embodied existences were supposed to be like. You're supposed to be here in your body. That means you have an instrument connected to the great composer and able to hear the great conductor who tells you what to do. So the idea is when the conductor tells you're in a state of pure potential, right? And when the conductor says, tap, 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 get ready, you get ready. And when it says play, means you get a body. Go get born, get an instrument and play your instrument. And when we metabolize and walk around and talk and think and do stuff, we are playing our instrument. And playing our instrument is also analogous to circulating through time in the area of what is called being alive. When you hit the membrane of death, it means you can't play your instrument anymore. There is no more music. There is no more anything. There's no more forward movement through time. There's no more pathway, no sidewalk in front of you. There is no road to keep going in front of you. You hit the membrane of death. It's an end of that timeline. So essentially, because we have been degraded in our perception, instead of knowing exactly the note to play, like if I have this piano keyboard has 88 keys, this is the note. Sorry, I'm waking my dog up. That I'm supposed to play. But instead, I have to try all of the 87 wrong notes. Wrong, 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 wrong. These are all fine notes. These are wrong. Not the right note. Not, still not there, still not there, still not there, still going. Finally. Oh, that took so long. So that is what our existence is like. And I had to learn all about this too when I talk to people here. And they're like, I'm so tired of having a body, having to eat food, poop, and go to the grocery store. Like I sensed a lot of ennui, exhaustion, just being over it. Like, oh, I'm over it. I don't like being here and having a body. I'm not that way. I'm like, woohoo, have a body, drink a smoothie, life's fun adventure. Like, drink a smoothie. But I think I'm also that way. Like when people have had a profound health crisis or been in an accident or whatever, and then you get better, then you're like, yeah, you don't take your body for granted. So I'm kind of more in that category. But I do understand that a lot of people here undervalue their body and find it to be burdensome and choreful, and the eating and the pooping and the grocery shopping and the everythinging is just so tiresome. And what I'm really hearing when I hear that from people is the idea that endlessly circulating blindly on these dead-end time loops is very degrading, is very exhausting, and it's not what we were meant to do. And the lesson 18 information that I now share very overtly from the beginning is that exhaustion comes because your life force energy is being siphoned off by a bunch of malevolent technology using extraterrestrials, and they're rediverting it into their own projects, which are technology-based and totally against cosmic law. And it's all not what's supposed to be going on, and that's why I'm here as Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So there is a struggle that is going on presently between beings who use technology and who are addicted to it or totally reliant upon it, and beings who do not have to use technology and who are not reliant upon it or addicted to it. So if you took all the technology off of Earth right now in our world, I wouldn't be like, no, I'm dying. I wouldn't be that way, actually. I would be very happy. I'd be fine. Because the technology that's going on right now, like all this stuff, like you're like, but wait a minute, how can I talk to my friends if I can't call them on the phone? That's easy. If you actually get rid of all this phone technology crapola, you have your own inner phone. And here's what's been going on. So in ancient Atlantis, we're kind of experiencing like the parenthetical reference of ancient Atlantis. That was like the first parentheses, and now we're getting like the second parentheses, like we're bookends experiencing these two different experiences, but we're now currently having the rectification. So what happened back then was the planet was invaded, the human genome was invaded, and artificial Merkaba technology apparatuses were placed on our surface of our planet here. They were placed on other planets and other times too, but just to, this is what lesson 18 and of both levels are all about, was invasion of technology to this planet to degrade consciousness here. And that it then made it necessary for the beings that are in this format of body to use technology as a compensatory mode. Like right now, we use phones to call each other because we do not have our own inner telepathy awakened. So I'm here as Aurora since 2001, and I lived in Woodstock from about 2003 to 2013. And in 2003, they did not have a cell phone tower up there. And cell phone towers were kind of more close to New York City itself, which was 2 hours away. So when visitors would come to Woodstock, and they'd be like, they go like this, like they're making this, like they can't get a signal. And we would laugh at them. You can't get a signal because there's no, we joke, we're in the vortex. There's no cell phone there. And also, I had all of these experiences of, I would call magical synchronicities before that cell phone tower got put up. If you wanted to find a friend, you kind of think of your friend, kind of imagine like, where are they around town? Kind of like you're feeling for them. Like, where are you? Where are you? And kind of go out and like talk to someone, say, like, I'm looking for so-and-so. You seen them? No, I thought they might be down there. And I had so many experiences pre-cell phone tower when I would be led from synchronicity to synchronicity through all these wonderful magical adventures. And then, boom, I find the person that I was looking for, and it all falls together so beautifully. That's like being conducted by the great conductor that tells you where to go, what to do, what to say, what to think, how to live your life. And life's a wonderful, fun, magical, synchronistic adventure. As soon as they put up a cell phone tower in Woodstock around 2005 or so, everybody got their phone service, but I noticed the magical psychic friends connection went away. So it wasn't merely the convenience of, oh, I can now find my friend exactly where they are. I just call them on the phone and they pick it up, and then we say, let's go meet at blah, blah place. It wasn't just the convenience that superseded the natural telepathy. The actual agitation of the atmosphere, or the waves that are being emitted that run the cell phones, interfere with your own natural waves. This is what's going on. And so that started to ramp up in 2005. That's only gotten worse, only intensified. So we all have these amazing, untapped, underutilized psychic potentials that are being drowned out by the emissions of the cell phone towers. You have a natural music and a natural melody inside of you that is so beautiful, and it's being drowned out, cover your ears, by horrible music that is made by the Wi-Fi is what I call it, Wi-Fi technology. So yes, if all the technology, the big giant button, were suddenly turned off and we didn't have that constantly blazing, I would have no problem, and I predict and presume that a lot of people in this class would also be totally fine with it. You would be able to very easily hear your friends, talk with your friends. It would be the beginning of being able to actually access and cultivate what would be called superpowers, but I'm now defining them as just regular powers. That what we define as superhuman is actually real human. It's actually who you really are. So you're supposed to be able to see the future, perceive time directly. You're supposed to be able to see the future. So, okay, guys, I see time directly. It's what I paint. The paintings on my dress, the paintings on the wall over there, these diagrams that I'm showing you, this is what time looks like. You begin to see time as well when you begin to activate these higher faculties. That is my little cue to myself. I'm almost wrapping up level 1, but because this is level 1, the intro, I want to just, let me hold on a second. I'm making squinty scrolly faces. Let me go to find my pictures. Let me bring up some pictures and then just show you some examples from my artwork of what we're talking about here. Okay, and I'm sorry I'm taking so long in doing this. I should have prepared for class. I apologize, students. Thank you for understanding. Let me just find a couple of other pictures for you. Okay, thank you for giving me the time to do that. And now let me do, I don't know, I made squinty scrolly faces that whole time. Share. There we go. Okay. So all of these are maps of time, and some of them also have anthropomorphic figures inside of them, so that you can understand how you, as a physical human-shaped figure, integrate with time. So this is a guy with a face and arms and legs right over here, and I was saying we all can agree we have physical bodies. We've established we have 5 senses and we can sense our physical bodies. But where I'm making the black scribble over here, this is all non-physical body. It's still you. You have a body. You have layers of body that are non-physical. So let me get, just want to like talk with pictures here. Hold on a second. No, I want to go to, I know what boom, there. Okay, sometimes I don't know how to work this thing. So this is from a different picture over here, from a different painting over here, showing a different depiction of the way that these chakras, welcome to class, it is lesson 1. These are energy centers. They are made out of time, the energy of pure consciousness, whirling and swirling amidst itself. So that means it's not like there's like a layer of fabric or rubber or glass or metal. This sculpture, this shape is not created out of stuff that is other than time. Just in the same way that water spouts or tornadoes are made of nothing more than the atmosphere whirling and swirling amidst itself. Or if you put a pencil in a glass of water and you swirled it around, made a mini tornado, it's water swirling amidst itself. These images that you see here, these vortices, are nothing more than time and the potential of time swirling amidst itself. And the word chakra just means spinning wheel of energy. So all of these wheels over here, all of these chakras, they look just like spinning wheels. So like here, I'll kind of highlight one for you. It's kind of like wheels on a car. Here's one wheel, here's another wheel, and then the axis would be going through like this. So I know that particular image might be a little bit hard to see. It's very complex. Oh, that's so funny. Wait, clear. How do I clear everything? I don't know how. Okay, good. Here's another one. This painting is really good because it shows very well how there's the human form that is in the center here where I'm kind of waving my cursor. And then there's all of this abstraction that exists around the human form. And that's all time. That is the area of potential. It's events of reality. It's the past and the future and the stuff that can eventually become the future that hasn't even been collapsed into a waveform. So all of this is like understanding the musical score of the cosmos. I happen to pick up my folder with all of these images of like how you and your chakras relate to the time field. So this is a different painting that I did that also, again, has the central human-shaped or anthropomorphic figure, and then is surrounded by these different patterns that are all patterns of time. So like you see me right now in my little thumbnail sketch. I'm sitting here in a chair in a three-dimensional box called my studio. I'm in a room, I'm in my studio. And I'm not just surrounded by the physical objects of my studio. I'm also surrounded by a sea of potential, possibilities, and probabilities. And if I go to one more, here we go. This is the piece that's actually on the wall across from us. This is when it's still in progress. So you can see a lot of the lines that are in here. So this is a map of time. Okay, I'm showing this all to you because it's kind of like my proof. Like if you're a marathon runner, if you look at, or like a bicyclist, where it's like, look at your leg muscles, like that's your proof, okay? We can tell that you can definitely propel yourself 26 miles or however much you do, that your muscles are your proof. These drawings and these paintings and the patterns that I have here, that is the proof that I can share with you of my inner perception of these higher levels of time, of what higher layers of reality. I perceive and see all this stuff. So that's where all the information from this class and from my artwork comes from. So just to be really clear, and this is intro, I don't get my ideas from another teacher. I also don't get them from reading an ancient manuscript or cuneiform or emerald tablets or something like that. I get them all from my inner vision. And I say that this up here, this higher faculty, it can be like a telescope, it can be like a microscope. So I can use it to look at the tiniest little thing. I can use it to look at the most far away giant thing. And so what I do is I focus my attention, my inner eyesight on these time patterns, and I learned these time patterns, and then I paint them and draw them, and now come on videos and flap my moving mouth parts and talk about them so that I can transmit that information to you. So that is literally what it means, my definition of being a frequency bridge. Frequency bridge. That we have this sense of galactic civilization that exists at higher levels, and when I say higher, I don't mean better, I mean higher. They exist at higher levels, and that they are very, very interested in jamming with us. They totally want to get together. They totally want to play music and learn from us and share what they have to say also. And we've been separated from them by this fall, by this degradation of consciousness, by the ugly music, ugly music that makes it hard to hear the beautiful high, delicate notes of those creatures of that place. Did you drink a water? Hold on a second. So I'm still connected to that place. I know this is the intro and I think I've been jumping around a lot, but I just want to make it really clear. My collective, the very subtle, you know, high level beings and everything, I'm still connected to them. It's not like I came down here, like first I was there, like first I lived in Idaho, then I moved to California. It's not like that. I'm still there. I'm there and I'm here at the same time. It is concurrent. So that's when I show you a picture of a person surrounded by all of this seething rainbow stuff. That seething rainbow stuff is me. It's us. It's where we live. So I'm in two places at the same time. I'm here in my studio. I'm having this conversation with you. We're doing a video together. And at the same time, I am also in a higher dimensional reality connected to my consciousness collective. And I get a lot of inspiration and ideas and energy from that higher level of perception. And then I translate it into paintings. So that way it is in the form of a physical object or sculptures, or I do animations now that takes that abstract intellectual mind energy and turns it into an actual physical thing that I can then share with other beings in this physicality. Because as I was saying earlier in this broadcast, the physical realm is like a stage where all of these different forces and ideas and particles and personality characteristics can come and interact and interplay. So I come here through the Flying Enroll Lasagna frequency bridge with ideas and information from higher dimensions. And this is actually kind of like a higher dimensional math and physics. And I'm here to share it with you. And you don't have to have a math background. You don't have to be an expert physicist. You know, that's a big one. I've met some people who are pretty condescending, and they're kind of like, okay, we're like, keep on trying to teach those beginners. And I'm telling this to you guys, the beginners, so that you understand, like, that's not how I see you at all. Because there's a lot of people, there's definitely intellectual snobs that are all like, you know, of the occult world, that are all like, oh, we know so much and those people know so little. That does not matter. That's like saying you're a classically trained pianist and you've memorized every single composition that Bach ever wrote. That's great. That's wonderful that you know all those patterns, but that's not the same as being able to innovate and have a rapport with other musicians. So what really matters on this journey, and why I love and value all the people that are in this class, what really matters is your heart. It doesn't matter how many patterns you have memorized intellectually. That can always come later. What matters is your ability to be loving, to emit the music that is known as love, it's an actual tone, to perform that music, and to develop the back and forth rapport with the other musicians. So once again, it does not matter. You could be the most intellectually fit, well-trained person that has a huge repertoire and you know all these different things. If you don't have a good heart, and if you're not able to effectively connect with the other beings that are here, then you're not part of the symphony of life. You're not part of the band. So as band members, what we really need are people who are wanting to, like, sensitive is not really the word, it's like perceptive, who want to be perceptive. I want to hear what you've got to say, and I want to say what I want to say, and I want to find a way to integrate this harmonically. Doesn't matter whether you have what would be considered natural talent or if you are already intellectually trained. You can have an intellectual disability and still do this work. Seriously, like, you could have a person with Down syndrome or a person who is intellectually disabled. It's not about what your mind can think and perceive, because a big takeaway is that the mind itself is a hacked operating system and an artificial overlay. So yeah, you don't have to be a super genius or already trained in all of these things to participate. What you have to do is have, you know, a desire and a willingness and the capacity to love, and then you learn the music theory, and you learn and you grow, and you like I said, all those other things can come later. Oh, thank you, Gala. Gala's our lovely. Gala is a wonderful participant from France. She's my friend, and she has done some beautiful animation work augmenting the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. So thank you very much for tuning in. So you know what? Let me wrap up level 1. Let me move on to level 2. Let me say thank you to my patrons. Are super awesome. I was just looking through the patron list this morning and seeing how many people have been consistent participants for so long. Thank you for being on board for so long. Thank you to the new people who have just tuned in. I will add the enrollment links. Enrollment links aren't just advertising or invitation. There are some lessons enabled for free preview. So check out the links because you can get stuff for free. And there's also the Patreon link. And I'm going to go on to level 2. Level 2 is the advanced stuff. This is just intro. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to talk about some things that I don't have recorded lessons for, and just kind of opportunity to resume the conversation that we've been having in the semester. So I just give a profound appreciative thank you to everyone who's been enrolling, becoming a patron, and who leaves wonderful comments. I have the best comment section on YouTube. I don't get stupid people and I don't get trolls, and I don't want to jinx it by saying that. And I jokingly say I actually do respond to comments, sometimes days, weeks, months, or even years later, but I do respond to comments. So yeah, thank you. Please do leave comments, and I'm always interested in hearing your ideas. And I'm sorry if I'm reiterating, but just very briefly, class this week, class next week, taking a break for Christmas and New Year's, returning in January, and then we'll start to really get our momentum going with the semester. So thank you very much.